So Florian Wirtz is Liverpool's new record transfer signing, but who were the others and how good were they? We are here today to rank the 12 most recent Liverpool record-breaking transfers. I am joined by Chris Pajak and Steve Hoare. I'm Paul Machin. We are the Redmen. Yes, in previous episodes, we've done tier lists. For this one, it's going to be a 12-1. The players that we've picked for this are Liverpool's record-breaking transfer signings from Kenny Dalglish onwards, because obviously it goes well back. Liverpool, it existed for like 130 odd years. But when we were getting into the world of like Albert Stubbins, honestly, it was outside of my wheelhouse. So I thought Kenny was a good arbitrary cut-off point.
Can I say now, when I first heard the subject, I was confused by the number. Now I understand it. I get it now because we've talked about it, but I thought it was going to be just the 10 most expensive players we've ever signed, but it's not. It's every time we've broke that record.
Precisely. Yeah. You also thought the 12 was an odd number.
You did say that, Steve.
I did
just 10 minutes ago.
I said 12 is an odd number, but I meant like a strange number to land on. Usually a list is like a top 10.
Yeah.
We've gone top 12 because Redmen.
Yeah. Because I wanted to shoe on Kenny into this video more than anything else. So yeah, we're going to do that. And yeah, just to clarify, yes, Steve's dead right. It's not Liverpool's most expensive signings. It is every time Liverpool broke their own transfer record, effectively. Before we delve into it, then, did you have a process for this one? Because you have both generated your 12-1s.
I'm going to have to agree or disagree.
Yeah, but did you have it? What was your process in coming to it?
Yeah, so I wanted to look at like how many games they played. I think that probably factored into how good they were as players. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the longer you stay around at Liverpool, the better. So I wanted to look at that for forwards and stuff. I wanted to look at goals. I also wanted to sort of incorporate my memories of them. And obviously, when we get to the likes of Kenny Dalglish and Dean Saunders and stuff, they're few and far between. I've obviously watched a lot more Kenny Dalglish, but I do remember Dean Saunders. And I think most people our age will remember a particular moment of Dean Saunders, which doesn't shed him in a good light, I suppose. So I wanted to sort of factor that in as well. And I wanted to look at trophies, what they actually won at the team as well, what the team won with them. And so they were my sort of deciding factors.
Steve?
Vibes.
Just solid vibes and nothing else.
Just what about you? First initial, saw the list, put it into an order. That was me. I always think go with your gut. Just don't worry about it. Just throw it in and see what happens later.
Yeah. No further comment, Your Honour. I only went as far as breaking them down into rough categories and tiers because I think some of them are much of a muchness. But actually, I'd be interested to know. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to freestyle this a little bit because I'm not entirely certain of what the best way to get all this out in the world is. But I think when I did tiers, I went like amazing. I had a very good and then a not quite as good tier, basically, because I don't think there's any dreadful footballers on this list, but there's a couple that, based on your metrics, would fall into the not so good, but actually on pure Steve's metrics, I think would rank higher. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also think the price comes into it relative to what else is going on. So I think when you include price into that, there are a couple that you go absolute stinker.
Ooh, okay. Right, questions, and perhaps something I should have posed, format-wise before we started recording. What do you want to do then? Do you want to go 12 and give me your suggestions, or do we want to just go through the players in the order in which they broke it and then go from there?
Are we spoiling the list, or do you want to let people know the list?
No, everyone should know the list.
Play along with it at home. People play along.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think because we're doing it as a discussion, we should maybe do it in groups of 3. Okay. Something like that, maybe 4 groups of 3, something like that.
Okay. Should we go by maybe do it by that rough break it roughly down then? Okay. So we'll start with the maybe not so good or not legendary or whatever. I'm keen not to like slaughter players who've done, because there's some players who've done some good things for Liverpool on this. There's no one who hasn't had an impact on Liverpool in their career that we've broken our transfer record for. So if we're talking about the arbitrary bottom tier, which would be good but not legendary or good but not great, perhaps, I think there's 5 in this list, arguably 6.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
I have a definite one. I thought there was one worst, and then a few were more iffy. Can I just tell you what my number 12 will be now, because we're doing the top 12? I had Andy Carroll as number 12, bottom of the list.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
He, in terms of price, in terms of trophies, very little really. Obviously had the League Cup. He had a couple of moments, obviously Everton, but other than that, not really. We sold him for a big loss. He was injured all the time. What he had to come and try and replace, obviously he's on this list later on as well. I thought Andy Carroll was the when I was looking at it, I thought him as 12 was actually the easiest decision on the whole list. Again, shout out to Andy Carroll, he's back in footy, isn't he? He's just bought the club and he's playing for them. Amazing for him, but in terms of Liverpool's signings, it just didn't work.
Well, so Andy Carroll, £35 million in 2011 from Newcastle, 58 appearances, 11 goals, 4 assists, just 1 League Cup in terms of silverware won with us, which does, on silverware, Chris, put him ahead of several other players on this list. So how important is it that he actually won a piece of silverware?
For this one, not really, to be honest with you. When you're looking at those games, those goals that he scored, his is the lowest games to goal ratio. The goals to games ratio, apologies, on the list. It was 0.13 for his goals to game ratio, so just over 1 in 10.
Okay.
Which is a shocking return for a centre forward at Liverpool Football Club when you've broken a transfer record on them.
Yeah.
Obviously the extenuating circumstances and all that type of stuff. I started with 12, just like Steve. I just went, there you go, that's the bottom. And then I did my workings out afterwards. So I basically, I did this for all of them. I ranked them. And then actually when I looked at some of the facts and figures, I maybe moved one around.
Okay.
1 or 2 around. But yeah, when you're thinking about Liverpool's transfer records, this is the one that the other football clubs laugh at the most, I think. And therefore, that one should be number 12.
Well, to the point, like, Darwin Nunez has suffered 2 seasons of being called a shit Andy Carroll, which, based on every metric, is completely untrue. But we'll see where you have put him, I guess, in a second. Go on. So we're in unified agreement that the lowest on this list is Andy Carroll.
Yeah. £35 million, was it?
58 games in a red shirt.
Didn't work, did it?
It didn't. Do you want to go... go on, well, I'll tell you what. Let's just do this.
My 11 is Darwin Nunez.
Oh,
right.
I had him higher. I had Dean Saunders as my number 11. Where was he for you?
Number 10.
Okay.
I had Darwin as 10. So we're
ballparking.
We're in the same rough area. And I was very tempted by a few others. But Darwin's only because of the money. I think he's had better careers than some of these players on this list. But I thought in terms of the actual cost that because it was a massive fee compared relatively, I thought it was quite...
So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do so people have got an idea of who's going to be in this, because I think it's, rather than us like pussyfoot around going, it could be saying him later on. The list is, in its fullness, Kenny Dalglish, Mark Lawrenson, Peter Beardsley, Dean Saunders, Stan Collymore, Emile Heskey, Djibril Cissé, Fernando Torres, Andy Carroll, Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Darwin Nunez. Obviously, would then... From the next version of this, it would have Florian Wirtz on top, but that is it as it stands. So my question to you, both of you, now that I know this, Darwin Nunez, LFC history have got him as 85.3 million from Benfica.
Yeah.
Whether it ends up being that remains to be seen, of course. He's won the league and he's won a League Cup in that time.
I would say, I think we might have been harsh here.
He's got 40 goals in 143 appearances and 22 assists. Dean Saunders, by comparison, 2.9 million. We'll get onto the sort of conversion rate on that in a sec. Won the FA Cup, 61 appearances, 25 goals. Can I posit that Stan Collymore?
He was around this tier as well.
8.5 million, 81 appearances, 35 goals. Why... with no honours for Liverpool? Why is Stan Collymore above both of these footballers?
Because for me, the memories of Stan Collymore as a footballer was he was an integral part of that side at the time. You think back to the season when he could combine 55 goals with Fowler, and that catapult us to third in the league that season. You know, and I think it was Newcastle, it was Manchester United ahead of us in 95, 96, wasn't it? So for me, I always actually look back, and because loads of people will say all the time, Stan Collymore wasn't it. I thought he was really good for us when he had that partnership with Fowler. It wasn't until an extra striker was added that it kind of went a bit awry for me. So I thought Collymore was absolutely excellent for us. Not as good as the Nottingham Forest version of Stan Collymore, the one that probably gets in Team of the Year 2 years before. I think it's maybe 93, 94, something like that. He's in the Team of the Year, isn't he? You know, he wasn't quite the same player when he came to us, but I actually thought he was a more integral part of the team than Darwin Nunez is now.
Okay.
And you know, you can say that Darwin Nunez has won a league, and he has, and he was a big part of that, but as a squad player. Stan Collymore was a first team player in a time before squads, to be fair. Yeah. So for me, he was a bigger part of that side than Darwin Nunez was last season's.
Similar. My thinking on Darwin again, the money was massive, but also he's really the only one on this list. Maybe Dean Saunders is in this as well, where they weren't just the first choice. When you break your record fee, the player's meant to play in your team every week from day one, and Darwin Nunez lasted about 6 months. Yeah. And Jurgen Klopp had enough. And then Arne Slot gave him a go and had enough of him. So he's really the only one who you say wasn't nailed on first choice in the team when he almost immediately after he was bought. Like some of these didn't work, but like say Heskey, Collymore, CJ in and out the team a little bit. But when they arrived for a good while, they were the first option, and most of the time they did okay. So I thought value for money wise, Darwin, it's just like say he's had more success and more moments than some of these players. But in terms of what we got for what we thought we were going to get, I think most of the others were, straight in, straight away. I don't think there's ever really been a time where any of us have thought Liverpool's best striker was Darwin Nunez, and they paid 85 million quid for him. So that's why I put him quite low.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is as well, I obviously gave you my criteria, and I put trophies on there, I put appearances on there, and Darwin Nunez obviously does well in the trophy side of things, and does really well actually in the appearances compared to the other people at the bottom of this list. But when for me, why I put Saunders ahead of Nunez, Saunders was our top scorer in the season. Yeah. In 91-92, that season that we go on and win the FA Cup, he scored 23 goals that season. Yeah. Admittedly, only 10 in the league. I think we finished 6th in the league that season. But he was still our top scorer in the league. This is a season when I think Rush got 3 or 4 in the league. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So Dean Saunders was our top scorer. Can Darwin Nunez ever say that?
No.
I would still put Nunez above Dean Saunders for the reasons.
I just put Nunez above both for him and Collymore for the reasons as well. We're going, Stan Collymore is really good in a team that finished third. Sound.
Agreed, but like this is what I was going to say just then, and I sort of meandered away from it. If Steven Gerrard was on this list, you know, you might put people, if you're just basing it on the trophies and the league titles and stuff like that, does Darwin Nunez therefore become a better player than Steven Gerrard? Steven Gerrard was the biggest player in that team at the time. Right?
Which team?
In all of
his
them.
Team.
In all of his teams at the time. Just because he might not have the trophy cabinet of somebody, it's not. You can't exclusively go on trophies.
No. But
and that's the constant thing with like Scholes and his 13 league titles or whatever it is and gigs and stuff. All right, we never won the league with Steven Gerrard, but he was still by far and away the greatest player we've had during that generation.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, this feels like you've...
No. All I'm saying is...
no one's disagreeing with that, exactly, as you say.
Exactly. So, like... It's a balance of everything, isn't it, that you've got to sort of come with. And I totally get, by the way, if other people have a different view of Stan Collymore, because I know that I was in the minority even at the time of how much I liked Stan Collymore in a Liverpool shirt.
It's funny. Yeah, I think Collymore's I think nostalgia plays a part in Collymore more than the reality of what Collymore was, because he was clearly a brilliant player in terms of raw materials, but never really come close to that for Liverpool, even if we're doing it. I mean, the fact that you laid his stats out, but then threw Fowler's goals in with him to be able to do it. You know, and Darwin Nunez, I'm not going to sit here and defend Darwin Nunez. He's been a wild ride, but he's a squad player in a much better side than either of the teams that those lads played.
That's true, and if Nunez would probably have got in those teams first choice either, so it's probably fair. I still maintain Saunders should be 11.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to argue over Collymore and Nunez and what all.
Yeah, when you look at the goals per game ratio, you have to go all the way up for me on this list to Emile Heskey to find a striker other than Andy Carroll, who's got less games in less goals to game ratio than Darwin Nunez at 0.27 over the course of his Premier League career and stuff. So that for me highlights that there is a difference between, you know, Darwin Nunez and some of the others.
Well, let me throw Virgil Cisse into this conversation as well.
Yeah, he's in this mix as well.
Because Cisse's won the Champions League and obviously, you know, scores pen in the
FA
final.
Cup as well.
He's brilliant in the FA Cup final in 2006. Less appearances than Collymore, less goals than Collymore. So 79 appearances, 24 goals, 5 assists. He's definitely in the mix of all this.
I think does he get a bit of a pass because it was the injury stuff? You're right. In my head, he did a little bit because I thought the injuries really did him in. Like I thought he was really good. And in the area of VAR, they probably got double them goals because he flagged him offside. He wasn't quite often. He was just that fast. This is like the general. I thought this actually, and then Emil Heskey's next was like the split of like top between, and then I thought Carroll was clear at the bottom. There's a few later, obviously.
So we're talking Nunez, Saunders, Cisse, Collymore, Heskey.
I would put
Heskey at the top of that list.
Yeah, I had him at the top of the list.
And then the rest is.
I think we need to sort these out. I don't think it's fair on Emil to go to London.
Okay.
With these.
That's fine. I had him at the top of it anyway.
I went for...
Fernando Torres.
He didn't have the trophies, did he?
Fernando Torres didn't have the trophies. He had a great goal scoring record.
Yeah.
He was brilliant, though.
He was brilliant. I absolutely adored him. But what?
No, you're right. Yeah, again, this goes back to the trophies.
So I could feel the hate coming through the YouTube comments already. I am merely the host of this. Asking the questions because I had loved Fernando Torres. He's the last number 9 that Liverpool owned that I genuinely adored, but cool. Like same argument almost as the Stan Collymore thing. The relationship with Steven Gerrard and, you know, they came second in the league and it was a brilliant side, but it was a brilliant side that didn't win anything. He wasn't at us for very long. He had loads of injury issues. He looked amazing and he gave me some incredible memories. But yeah. I've
got him considerably higher.
But why?
Because I think he was the best striker in the world.
Okay. I think that's a good shout.
And sort of points to back up sort of steer, he was Liverpool's player of the year. Were any of the others?
I thought he was.
Do you know what I mean?
I thought,
so that's what you sign. That's what you break your fucking transfer record for. Mm-hmm. You break it for someone who's better than what you've got. Yeah. Fernando Torres was that.
Yeah.
Categorically.
I think we need to sort this model out. I would like to. I'm steadfast that Dean Saunders should be number 11.
So we'll do that. But I'm just saying, just to round off the people in consideration for this chunk.
Yeah.
Torres is not in I don't think
if Heskey's not in it, Torres isn't in it.
My heart says well, Emil Heskey actually won stuff for Liverpool and had a really contributing hand in winning all those things as well, by the way.
They are very close on my ranking later on.
Yeah, I just, again, it's controversial, but if you, in the cold looking at numbers, if we're lining up what they did and what they achieved, it's, Fernando Torres is, I understand him being high on Steve's vibes list, but I'm stunned by Chris Pajak's
player of the year at Liverpool, mate. That's what you needed. Do you know what I mean? That's what we want.
Martin Skrtel won player of the year for Liverpool.
It's not always a very difficult thing to win. But in the side with Steven Gerrard, when he was fucking that good.
Martin Skrtel won it in the side with Steven Gerrard.
When Steven Gerrard was very, very good at the top of his game. You know what I mean? So, and he came third in the Ballon d'Or list as well.
I just think he was
up there for the best player in the world.
He delivered what we wanted him to deliver.
Cool. Listen, that's fine. You can do what you want. I'm just pointing out your hypocrisy. So, in terms of sorting this out then, so we've got Saunders, Nunez, Collymore and Cisse to be sifted through to give us our next.
So the way that I've got it as Nunez, Saunders, Cisse, Collymore. I flipped a couple of times on Nunez and Saunders. So if everyone else wants to go Saunders in 11 and put Nunez in a 10, that's absolutely fine for me. I'm not really too bothered, but again, I will just say he was Liverpool's top scorer when we did sign him. And compared to what the transfer fees at the time were, 2.9 was not like 85 million a couple of years ago.
I mean, 2.9 was probably not far off the British transfer record at the time, I would guess. The one thing on the Collymore, by the way, just on the Collymore to Nunez thing, as much as we're going £85 million for Darwin Nunez, that's loads of money, and 8.5 doesn't seem loads. 8.5 was literally British transfer record at the time. So comparatively speaking, we would be talking about, if we wanted to try and modernise that, pretend that Collymore's nearer 100. But actually, if it was British transfer record today, it'd be 115. But we're going back to Nunez, so it's probably around 80. It's probably around the same as what we paid for Darwin Nunez there. Yeah. And if you said Stan Collymore cost us £85 million,
it's hard, isn't it?
Does that change the balance between him and Nunez in your head?
I still think squad player for me for Darwin, and I think the other thing to consider is that it wasn't long after that it went to 15 million for Alan Shearer and nearly doubled in transfer records. Mm-hmm. So that's quite a significant gap to what the best player in the market went for. Was it a year later? Maybe nearly double what we paid. And it was huge for us breaking the British transfer record with Stan Collymore. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he fulfilled what that meant. I just really liked him as a footballer.
Sad.
They were the two where I was I wasn't sure where to go. It just became down to I only had the tiebreaker. Again, the trophy thing, absolutely right. But mine was more Darwin Nunez as a squad player, but he did have big moments, and Collymore got in the 11 pretty much every week. But I wouldn't sit here and argue beyond the fact that they shouldn't be the other way around. I think you're splitting hairs on them. But
I agree. Saunders in 11, and I think ultimately him and Collymore, I just don't think there's a massive difference between the two in that, they might have been the main men, but it was very quickly found out that they weren't.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly, and very, very short-lived as Liverpool players.
I think we've got Nunez 10, Collymore 9 then, have we?
And Cisse 8.
I've got Cisse as 9, to be honest with you. I'm not as considerate of his snapped leg. I think he got 5 in 24 that season. Before the injury at Blackburn, that's not a fantastic return. Manager didn't really seem to know where he wanted to play him. Lots of stuff on the right hand, lots of stuff on the right hand side. Don't think the signing particularly worked. Do think he had something about him. The injury therefore did make it difficult. He obviously comes back really early, doesn't he? Is it the quarter final against Juve? He comes back in.
He's back for the final anyway.
I think it's the quarter-final against Juve, and it was way ahead of schedule. He comes on in 83rd minute or something like that in the final, doesn't he? Puts his penalty away, obviously, next season, the FA Cup. Huge thing. But I think, when you're looking at 0.3 goals per game, I think, Collymore was 0.43 as an example. Saunders was 0.4. I just don't think it quite worked out for him because he wasn't played in his position a lot of the time.
This is where again, it's very hypocritical, this list, and I understand I'm probably back. It's just, again, vibes. I did put a lot of stock in the fact they scored goals in final. A penalty in a shootout and a goal in the final where we were getting battered, and he helped. It was a really good goal. I helped us drag it back into it as well. So that's ultimately why I put him above Stan Collymore.
Again.
You might have to adjudicate here, Gaffer.
I think... So Carroll 12, Saunders 11.
We both got Nunez 10, then, haven't we?
Well, I'm not bothered for switching that.
I think you should be in.
We might. It's our list anyway. Don't worry
no. Okay, so we're going Nunez 10.
I would, and then what? Well, we're flipped.
Collymore and Cisse 9-8.
So you're going to have to judge this one, then you're going to have to be the tiebreak.
I think Stan Collymore cost a fucking stupid amount of money and had one season. And I know Cisse didn't achieve that goal. Never had that goal scoring season, but and look, you could argue you need a bunch of other players to get into situations. And if Liverpool had been in Europe, been in the Europe, who knows? They weren't. I can point to Jibril Cisse and say, here's what he did as a Liverpool player, more than I can do with Stan Collymore. So I think Collymore 9.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Cisse 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what the mad thing is? You could probably run this list on appearances.
Maybe.
Darwin's probably the one where you go, that's a bit of an outlier.
I can hear the comments now on Nunez.
You've got Carroll at 58 appearances. You've got Saunders at 61 appearances. You've got Cisse at 79 appearances, and you've got Collymore at 81 appearances. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Darwin at 143 appearances for us, which is a bit of an outlier.
And I keep saying that's 143 appearances in a brilliant Liverpool side.
It's a brilliant Liverpool side, but he was brought in to be the main man of that side and didn't do that.
It comes across like, I imagine the YouTube comments aren't going to be happy with it, because we get a lot, don't we? We don't appreciate that one. Listen, I quite like Darwin Nunez, the fella. I think all sound, and he's provided me with some amazing moments. But ultimately, if you go in at that price, you have to play.
I think he's perfectly pitched in the conversation with Collymore and Cisse, by the way. I really do, because and that's again, Collymore was the biggest disappointment of the lot for me because of that thing that he was carrying with him. You know, we'd seen Darwin Nunez in the Champions League against us and look quite good, and it was an exciting signing. But this Collymore failing is like us signing Haaland and him failing, not us signing Darwin Nunez. That's the equivalent of what we were doing.
It was meant to be a short time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's bundle some more together for the next sort of chunk. In my head, this was very good. These were very good players, but not quite like not quite the all-timers. And there's one that's really sits in between this. The way that I would argue Torres kind of sits toward the bottom end of this. I think Mark Lawrenson's on this list.
Yeah.
But he sits towards the top, because I was about to say legend, and Mark Lawrenson absolutely is a legend of Liverpool Football Club. You've got Peter Beardsley's in this section.
Fernando Torres, Emil Heskey.
Torres, Heskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had my own category for Lawro. I actually had Heskey, Torres and Beardsley together, and Lawro above them.
So did I. So we both end up with Mark Lawrenson.
So we're going to do this from the other end. So we're going to put Mark Lawrenson straight in as number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not quite there with Van Dijk, Kenny Dalglish and Mo Salah for me, but he's absolutely on his own and away from the other 3 players.
An integral part of a team that wins loads of stuff and plays all the time. And ultimately, it's kind of him who gets rid of Phil Thompson in a way, right? I'm saying, is that how that worked out? Like, he eventually takes that role, and it's a bit controversial maybe, and it's not, because he's brilliant. And don't let anyone get fooled by Mark Lawrenson, the TV pundit, who everyone doesn't like. Mark Lawrenson, the footballer. And again, it's difficult to say this because it was a bit before our time, but I must admit, I said vibes before. I did speak to my fella about a couple of these, just because I didn't know too much.
What did he think of Dean Saunders?
Didn't really
fucking hate him, didn't he?
Probably. Yeah. But like those 18s, like Mark Lawrenson is up there with the best. Like, so he was like my gap between my top 3 and my next 3, and then Mark Lawrenson was very much sat in the middle of them both.
So 1981, we signed him for 900 grand from Brighton and Hove Albion. He's won 5 leagues, 1 European Cup, 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups, 356 appearances, Mark Lawrenson. And I agree, it's that people go on about Hansen, and I think Hansen draws all the eyes and the attention, and it's before our era, but the amount of people who just say, you know, this archetypal defensive pairing where you've got one who's the leader and the powerful, and then you've got the other one who does all the dirty work and stuff. These were both just great on the ball. Just really, really tidy, silky sort of centre halves as well. So, yeah.
The interesting thing about this is I would love you to get in touch with your dad and give him the top 4 and see where he puts Lawro.
There'd be somebody put.
Do you know what I mean?
Because
I think when you said they're 5 league titles, you know, absolute mainstay of the team, and you look at that and go, "How's he 4?"
Yeah. Well, he's 4th because
we're not old enough. I think that might come into it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's an interesting poser for anyone watching or listening at home who's maybe of an older generation than us. Would Mark Lawrenson be higher in this? Maybe you want to.
Is it a top 4, not a top 3?
But yeah, let's say it's a top 3. Does he break the top 3 ahead of? Maybe watch and listen to the rest of it and make your decision. But if you're dead set, let us know in the comments on that, because it's obvious. I just don't think he's that. And okay, look, I'm not going to tread on future comments on this one. So yeah, let's see what else we got.
We'll do this in a roundabout way. So we've got our 4. Now we need to get our.
Can I tell you something? I have a sneaky suspicion. Well, no. Here's what should have happened on both of your lists. Peter Beardsley should be below Fernando Torres and Emil Heskey on your lists.
It's not on mine.
Okay.
He's in the middle on mine.
Okay. Interesting. I think you both might have been slightly disrespectful to Emil Heskey at a guess as well.
I don't think so.
Okay. So, who have you got
at 7?
Yeah, who have you got at 7, Steve?
Emil Heskey.
Wait until you find out. I've got it at 7. Emil Heskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gone... Okay, I'll just tell you. It's obvious I made it clear. I've got Torres really high, I think, haven't I? So I've gone Heskey, Beardsley, Torres as 7, 6, 5. And I understand the titles thing on Torres, and he is the outlier. And I just think he was the best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world at the time. So that's why I put him so high. And I don't think it was his fault that those times that Liverpool didn't win stuff. So they are very close.
If he'd not, God, if he'd not been injured all the time.
That doesn't help, yeah. But being 7th on this list, I loved Emile Heskey. Again, I thought he was brilliant, but he delivered straight away. But then ultimately, the manager got someone else to do that, and he stuck him on the wing for a bit, and it just didn't straight away.
See, you say that, but actually, he came in and Robbie Fowler couldn't get back in the team.
That's true.
And that scored 7 at the back end of that season, didn't he, when he came in?
I loved Emile Heskey. I think he's brilliant.
Emile Heskey, there was a point, and we go best striker in the world or whatever. That season where we win the treble, England then go and beat Germany 5-1 in that as well, and we win the Super Cup and all. Emile Heskey, I think, was the most informed centre forward in footy at that time. He was everything we wanted him to be.
Absolutely, but there was a reason Fowler didn't get into the team, and it was Emile Heskey, and that's the thing that pissed me off.
Yeah.
And
I blame Michael Owen for that. But
I can bring all the stats I want into it, but the reason that Robbie Fowler left Liverpool was because Emile Heskey was bought, and that hurt.
Do you know what I mean? Poor Emile, that's me.
That's just me. Robbie Fowler's my favourite player at the time, and he leaves Liverpool.
That's a positive for Emile Heskey that he managed to...
It absolutely is for everybody else. Not for me. Not for me.
Bitter bias.
Absolutely. Like, the lad played 223 times. He wins the treble, doesn't he? He's absolutely fucking mustard. He links up brilliantly with Michael Owen, brings the best out of him. There are ways that you can look at it and say, he should absolutely be higher up. But I'm vindictive. And I'm still sad that Robbie Fowler ended up leaving, and that Emile Heskey was the reason. As much as I loved him.
Emile Heskey.
And love him, he's a great guy.
Did more and was, did more and won more than... I mean, Peter Beardsley's a slightly difficult one to judge because it's not the career that it should be. He gets sold way too soon, and we have to suffer him at Everton and then back at Newcastle, continuing to be a really top level player. So I think, pure ability wise, I think Beardsley's absolutely unreal. He is fractionally before our time. I remember him playing for Liverpool, but
I remember the Newcastle Beardsley more.
Yeah, John Barnes was the one as a kid where you're like, what? Name Liverpool players. If you asked a kid today, you'd name Mo Salah, you'd name John Barnes, and you'd name Ian Rush in the teams that we grew up with. Beardsley would go down the line. But I had my first 3 Liverpool shirts at 7, 8, and 9 on the back of them. 9 was for Rush. 8 was for Houghton, and 7 was for Beardsley. So yeah, he was absolutely unreal. There'll be people again slightly older than us who would probably put him just below Lawrenson. Yeah, but I'm just arguing the Emile Heskey disrespect.
It's not disrespectful.
It is.
Saying that he's not as good as Fernando Torres isn't disrespectful. It's just that's just
for Liverpool.
I thought Torres was better. Yeah. I don't think that's that controversial.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Heskey was brilliant. And he played as part of it.
He wasn't the best player in the side, was he? He wasn't the best forward in the side.
And he wasn't the best player ever. I think you could argue at that point. I know Gerrard is like legend, God, whatever, but there was a time when you might have said Fernando Torres is Liverpool's best player. It'd been very close to Steven Gerrard because that was Gerrard at his pomp. I don't think we ever really said that about Heskey. I thought he was brilliant and he had a really good time and he won loads of stuff and scored loads of goals. I think 7 is very decent. Obviously the argument we've got is you're going to have to adjudicate on the Beardsley, Torres 6 and 5. My case is Beardsley was just a short time again, a little bit like Torres, and Beardsley was part of an amazing front 3 that one of Liverpool's greatest ever sides. Yeah. So I could easily be swayed, but I'll go back to it. Fernando Torres for me was just like on a different level.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, and this is where we're going to come down to it. I mean, Chris has laid out his vindictive cards early doors on this one. Pure personal opinion. Stats until it's not.
Stats till it's vibes.
I think, based on merit of what they did, how long they were at the football club and what they achieved at the football club, it should be Torres, Heskey, Beardsley.
Yeah, but we're going with Heskey as 7, aren't we, Sting?
You can only change our minds when we both don't agree.
Therefore, it's Torres or Beardsley. For me, Beardsley wins league titles. And I think when you can look at the two of them like that, I think 2 league titles
I can see the point. I think I hold Fernando Torres in such high regard.
You'd be meant. It's mad that, look, not in terms of the popular vote. I think it's unfair that Torres is above Heskey, but it's crazy to put Torres above Beardsley.
You go with it then. I'm happy to concede that one. If you want to put Torres and then Beardsley.
So Torres 6, Beardsley 7.
No,
Beardsley 5.
Sorry, Beardsley 5.
Heskey 7.
Yeah, sorry.
And we've already established Mark Lawrenson's top.
And Mark Lawrenson's 4. Okay.
This will be interesting.
Well, this is where who amongst you is going to play to the crowd? I'm desperate to find out on this one because there are the 3 remaining players there.
Well, it'll be me, but go on.
Oh, I mean, I'm stunned Fernando Torres hasn't made it this high, lads. Is Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Kenny Dalglish. Kenny Dalglish signed in 1977. He was our cut-off point, starting point for this list. 440 grand from Celtic, 6 leagues, 3 European Cups, 1 FA Cup, 4 League Cups, 515 appearances, 172 goals and assists.
And then was the manager.
Won stuff as well.
Football Rights Association Player of the Year twice, PFA Player of the Year once, player, manager and manager of Liverpool Football Club.
On multiple occasions.
Yes, exactly. Mohamed Salah, of course we know, signed in 2017, 43.9 million from Roma, 2 leagues, 1 European Cup, 2 League Cups, 1 FA Cup, 1 Club World Cup. Football Rights Association Player of the Year twice, PFA Player of the Year 3 times, 401 appearances, 245 goals and 110 assists. And then Virgil van Dijk signed in 2018 for 75 million, a record fee for the defender at the time. 2 leagues, 1 European Cup, 1 FA Cup, 2 League Cups, 1 Club World Cup. PFA Player of the Year once, UEFA Player of the Year once, 319 appearances thus far. Captain of Liverpool Football Club.
Ballon d'Or runner-up.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or runner-up. This is
It's insane, this.
Yeah.
I found this really tough.
Yeah. We nearly had a graphic that said joint seconds.
Can I just pick my third? Shall I pick third and see if you agreed?
Yeah.
I put Virgil at 3.
I did as well.
Wow.
And it's more because I weigh goals more than defences, and that's just soz. I had to do something.
Goals win games, Steve. Defences win titles.
Listen, you could do these in any order, and I don't think you will be lambasted out of any conversation. It was just splitting hairs on the fact that I just weigh the goals and assists more than I do defenders, and that was the only thing I could think of in terms of they are all icons of the football club in different ways.
Can I argue one thing that I'm not sure whether you will have factored in based on what we've seen so far? A little mention of it with another player, Torres, no less. I think Virgil van Dijk is the only one of those 3 who is the best player or was the best player in the world in his position.
Yep. It's fair enough.
Yeah. I think for me, it came down to 2 things. I sort of echo what Steve said there about it's splitting hairs. It came down to price. I think Mo Salah was a better price in terms of, they're a year apart, aren't they? But like half as much dough, basically. And it comes down to who's Liverpool's Player of the Year most. And Mo Salah wins Liverpool's Player of the Year 5 times and Virgil van Dijk wins it once. And for me, that was just about enough to tip it over the edge. Like, if everyone else is saying that, if all the players are saying that Mo's our Player of the Year, then that's kind of enough for me.
I get it. And also, I'll be honest, I say splitting hairs and stuff like that. I had more difficulty separating Dalglish and Salah than I did Van Dijk from these, if that makes sense. I thought I was more comfortable with Van Dijk 3 and then sorting out my other 2. I think Kenny and Mo Salah is really close, and I thought Van Dijk's in there as well, but I found this a little bit easier. But listen, again, if anyone at home says, listen, he's number 1, you'd have no arguments. It's impossible to argue against. He is the best defender I've ever seen. I think he is the greatest centre-back that's ever lived. Yeah. And I know people say, see the Liverpool shirt and think it's biased. Whatever your favourite defender is and what he can do, Virgil van Dijk can do it better. Whatever your best defender's best asset is, Van Dijk's better than him.
Well, go and ask.
He's just unbelievable.
If you're unsure about where Van Dijk sits or is going to sit in the pantheon of great defenders, go and ask your favourite ever defender. Go and ask the defender you think is the best, who they think it is. And I think you'd be stunned to find most of them would say Virgil van Dijk. Paolo Maldini cannot shut up about how good Virgil van Dijk is. And players of that calibre recognise it. Game recognises game. I honestly think there's a very strong case for Van Dijk to be top of it because he's just that. He's that much better than anything we've had for the longest time as well.
And
all of that.
He did transform the team that had Mo Salah in and took it to a new level. So you're absolutely spot on. You'd have no argument. Again, it's just the bias of the goals and assisting, and also a bit like what Chris said. Everybody, when they were in the same team, Salah kept getting the awards and Van Dijk didn't. And again, that might just be a forward bias thing.
But people get bored of talking about how good Van Dijk is because I just don't. Because you're right, the goals and assists thing. It's easier to find superlatives when someone's got a highlights reel on Match of the Day or whatever. You just don't have that with defenders. I mean, the fact is that Virgil van Dijk once defended 2 players on a counter attack on his own. In Spurs, and that is now how defenders defend that now. They just copy what Van Dijk did. Not in the past, you'd go towards the guy with the ball and then they just lay it in, the other guy would score. It was just a goal. And now this running between the two of them until they panic is basically he invented a move and no one really talks about it.
He's also made it worth mentioning you don't get a Van Dijk highlight reel much because he doesn't have to have a highlight reel because he's just always in the right place and he makes it look dead easy because he just heads everything and just puts a toe in front of everything. He's the best I've ever seen, and I always used to think John Terry was at defending the near post and just cutting those crosses across, the low crosses, and Van Dijk's the best. He is, Jamie Carragher said, and he called it the John Terry position. It's now the Virgil Van Dijk position. Like, everything that the greatest defenders can do, Van Dijk can do probably better than them all. He is the complete package. I have no argument. I think we are splitting between 3 of the greatest Liverpool players of all time. Yeah, this could be a conversation not about Liverpool's greatest signings, just like Liverpool's greatest players. Yeah. And you could easily end up with this top 3 in the same order as well.
It's funny because people go on about like the Hansen comparisons. Van Dijk is this good in this era of football. If he was playing 40 years ago, he'd have probably been a number 10, or he'd have been like the best centre forward the world had ever seen because of that's the skill set that he possesses. And I think we all recognise it. I think the wider footballing community is a bit slower on the uptake on it all.
They just think we're being biased Liverpool supporters. Yeah. And I'm objectively, I would argue with anyone, and I'm a big fan of like John Terry and Vincent Kompany and all these Premier League legends. I don't think it's that close. I think he's just the best. Yeah. But again, Salah and Kenny got the goals that won the trophy, and that's the only really way I could put it. But it was really difficult to argue against Virgil van Dijk. You could have had joint first, and that'd have been much easier. But you made us not be able to do that.
So, piece of paper between them, Virgil van Dijk third.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who did you have second?
I do like the idea of him being Paul Warhurst if he went back in that era of football, like playing centre back and centre forward. Didn't Chris Sutton used to do that as well?
Dion Dublin did that as well.
Did it as well. Like,
if we stuck Virgil van Dijk up front for a season,
we'd be all right.
How many goals do you think he'd score?
We'd ship a few.
12.
Oh yeah, we'd be in trouble. He'd have to
12.
He can go back and defend corners though.
Yeah,
that helps. So imagine Liverpool next week rocked up and Joe Gomez and Ibu Konate were at the back and Virgil was up front. I reckon we do okay, I reckon he do all right.
Yeah. So that leaves us with Kenny Dalglish, the ultimate icon of Liverpool Football Club, and Mohamed Salah, who is certainly the greatest player of the last decade for Liverpool.
I want you to go first, please.
Arguably Liverpool's greatest Premier League era player. Steven Gerrard would be in there, but yeah.
I mean, the records that he's broken are just absolutely ridiculous, aren't they? I mean, you look at it, he's got 2 Premier Leagues, he's got an FA Cup, a League Cup, European Cup, Club World Cup, something that Kenny never did, actually. 2 PFA Player of the Years, 4 Golden Boots, 2 times, whatever they call it, the Playmaker, 2 times Player of the Year, Premier League, 5-time Liverpool Player of the Year. I mean, his goal to game ratio is 0.61, which is absolutely off the charts, over 401 appearances as well. Absolutely ridiculous.
So number 1.
So he's number 2 for that reason. Because he's not been our manager yet.
Okay.
And because he hasn't got 6 league titles, 1 FA Cup, 4 League Cups, 3 European Cups, 3 European Cups, half of the European Cups that we've won are Kenny Dalglish in the side.
Yeah.
2 leagues as just the manager, 1 FA Cup as just the manager, and 1 League Cup as just the manager as well to throw it in. I mean, there is no greater player it's 40 odd years ago and he's still spoken about like he played yesterday from everybody who watched him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll do the same about Mo, and I'm sure I'll do the same about Virgil van Dijk. But when you're looking at the pantheon of Liverpool players, Kenny Dalglish stands at the top alone and is waiting for company.
I think Mohamed Salah is Liverpool's greatest ever player. I think he's the best we've ever had. But I still put him as number 2 and Kenny as 1.
Then you can't.
I can, because my reason is it's more than just on the pitch for Kenny.
Okay.
It's Kenny. It's just Kenny. It's the manager stuff absolutely plays a part in it. And if Mo Salah becomes our manager in a few years and wins more trophies and wins more leagues, and also just like, it's everything that Kenny Dalglish stands for. Listen, we're lucky enough to have spent some time with him, and he's just an amazing person, and maybe that sways it as well. But like, Kenny's like the aura of everything. I think Mo Salah's the best footballer. Like, I think he's unbelievable in the goals per game and that record ratio. I know a lot of people argue because I didn't see that much of Kenny, and this is based on my own opinion. But for everything that Kenny Dalglish is and stands for, and the man he is, I think he has to be number 1 because he's still involved with the football club today. He's still an iconic, integral part of Liverpool even today. He has to, for me, that's why he goes number 1.
We signed him in 1977. He leaves Liverpool as reigning champions as manager in 1991. He like, that's insane. Like, genuinely insane. Like 13 and a bit or whatever it ends up being years afterwards. And it's that continuous thing. If you're dead right, sure, there's got to be some consideration for the fact that, 85, 86, he becomes player manager. That's like, no one does that anymore. Buddy Owen Coyle would play with the reserves when he was Bolton manager or Burnley or whatever. Like, but this is like, he had to be convinced to put himself back in the team because he was still, he was in the twilight of his career, but he was still the best player. He secures the double, wins the league, an amazing goal against Chelsea. He's just great. And the fact is, I always talk about this, but when we lifted the league title in 1990, he subbed himself on. It's just like, he was like Ari Joe, so he was like, I think he was like 40 by that time, and he's just there, gives himself one last hurrah. But that continuous service and not just plodding along, but like continuing to evolve and make the club brilliant in loads of different ways as he did it.
He's had a 48-year connection with Liverpool, and he signed for like less than, what was it, what did you just say it was, like 400 grand. Okay. Liverpool have had the money's worth, they've had the money's worth as the Mo Salah, don't get me wrong. And listen, in 40 odd years time, so in 2060 or whatever, they might be speaking of Mohamed Salah, and Mohamed Salah's been player manager and director, and got a stand named after him. But that's unlikely. It doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. So, Salah, unbelievable. But Kenny has everything. First of all, the footballer, just ridiculous. But then also everything he is and stands for is becoming, like I say, there's only one fella in the history of the football club who's got a stand named after him. Yeah. It's him. He's still on the board. He still gets consulted about decisions at Liverpool. He is an integral part.
He's the only, and I know the manager thing kind of like does mix in this bit, but you're right. He's the only player, to be honest, or to be honoured in that way. Because obviously it's Shankly and Paisley who get the gates and the statues and whatever. I mean, technically Evelyn Hughes is in the Paisley statue, I guess. But that shows you where he is.
Yeah. He's just an icon, and I actually think he might be in the top 10 football players of all time, Kenny Dalglish. And I had a little look. I actually googled like best football players ever, and I found a list on, I can't remember the website, but it was a reputable website, not one of these Gimme Sports or whatever. And he wasn't even...
Shots fired to Gimme Sports.
My old employers in a big way.
Someone in an office is just spitting out to him with a laptop right now.
So it's got...
He wasn't even in the top 35.
But the thing that's worth remembering about Kenny for that time, though, Chris, is that this is Johan Cruyff and Diego Maradona and Michael Laudrup around that time. It would have been he was the older of the Laudrups, wasn't he? But I mean like tens. Like these. It was an era. It was the golden era of tens who redefined all things. It just makes you wonder. And like Scotland made a decent fist of things at the time, but like if he'd been Dutch or French or German or whatever, would that have elevated his status a little bit?
When you think of nostalgic football, actually, often your mind switches to international footy. So you remember your Maradonas and your Cruyffs and stuff, where actually Scotland obviously they did okay, but they were never going to be in those moments. We was never going to have your Maradona finals or your Van Basten stuff, because it was impossible. But yeah, from everyone you hear speak about Kenny Dalglish, I don't think anyone thinks he was shit. Like.
Your favourite footballer, I think, from that era, Kenny Dalglish. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted to be around him. Everyone.
Could you have made an argument for Salah? Because I found it tough, because I've said on many a Redmen show, I think he's Liverpool's greatest ever player. I think he's just frightening how good he is compared to everything else on the planet. He's on another level, and the numbers and the stats speak for themselves. It was only because of what Kenny Dalglish is. And if he hadn't had the manager, what metric would possibly put Salah above Dalglish? I think is the interesting question. I think if you just focused solely on the football pitch,
even then,
but then trophies once Kenny's got to beat. Well, like,
because you go back to like import.
What about the goals? Well, goals
would be the one.
Yeah,
but you know,
I actually think if he had 2 more Premier Leagues, which was entirely possible, and 2 more European Cups,
Salah,
he's right there.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where this list changes very soon.
I mean, sorry, on to that point, like, yeah, I agree. But you enter a world of, like, because I was thinking about this, because Salah's played in 3 European Cup finals, and that would be that would definitely be a thing. But like, Kenny's probably played in 5, and then they'll have finished second a few times in that time, like, 89, being one of them. So, I mean, Kenny Dalglish could have. Imagine what Kenny Dalglish could have if we played.
Has he played in 5, has he? Yeah. I thought it was 4. Maybe.
Well, he was there for Heysel, wasn't he? So, that was one that he could have potentially had.
I mean, has he won 3?
Yeah, he's won 3.
And then he's not a 4, am I right?
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think if you don't factor in the manager, player manager, and everything that Kenny Dalglish stands for now, and just looked on the pitch, I think it's easier to make an argument for Mohamed Salah, because you just go, well, who scored the most goals? Yeah. And then Mo Salah wins, but it's fucking Kenny Dalglish. Like, you just can't at this moment in time.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair. How do you topple someone like Kenny Dalglish? Can anyone ever? That remains the big question.
Mo Salah, player manager.
Mo Salah
the
is
Mo
on.
Salah centenary stand.
Mo Salah has played his way onto the Mount Rushmore of Liverpool players without a shadow of a doubt. But like, his face is being carved alongside Kenny Dalglish's. Like that. Kenny's was there and has been there for a very, very, very long time. Okay, where have we got this wildly wrong? And by we, I mean these two.
Sorry, Darwin.
And I want to apologise wholeheartedly to Fernando Torres superfans, of which I am actually one. But do you agree with the fact that he is being wildly overplaced in this list compared to his role at the football club, and Collymore as well? Darwin Nunez also tried our best, mate. Maybe in the fullness of time.
Can you go through the list one more time?
I will.
To round us off.
I will do just that. But I want to say, because when you do a list, there is a bottom/worst, and then there is a best. But there are no generally terrible players on this list. Everyone, they've all played at the top level. They've all had their moments to shine in Liverpool shirt, so I won't hear the slander. But 12, Andy Carroll, 11, Dean Saunders, 10, Darwin Nunez, 9, Stan Collymore, 8, Jibril Cisse, 7, Emile Heskey, 6, Fernando Torres, 5,
Beardsley.
Gold. Beardsley. 4, Lawrenson. Mark Lawrenson. 3, Virgil Van Dijk. 2, Mohamed Salah. And number 1, tippity top, Kenny Dalglish.
If you could change one, any regrets, Chris?
I'm not changing number 1.
No, if you could change anything, sorry. Pedantic.
I know.
I think I regret a little bit of the Darwin stuff now. Maybe.
I'm okay with that. No, I'm all right with it. I'm fine with it. I said I wasn't too bothered about Saunders and Nunez swapping rounds.
How much of the fact that you played, you spoke to was he at that golf game you played, Dean Saunders?
Really great with us.
Exactly. How much of that has stopped him from being bottom of this list?
Oh, Andy Carroll.
Oh, Andy. Okay.
I think we've done all right there, Steve. I
would love the viewers and the listeners in the comment section to put their ranking 12 to 1 and see how different it is.
Can I just say on Emile Heskey, because you think we've been harsh on it, I don't think Emile Heskey should be on this list, because I don't think Emile Heskey should ever have been Liverpool's record transfer, if that makes sense, because he wasn't bought for that. Michael Owen was that. Do you know what I mean? He was bought as a foil for it, and I think that has shaped how I think of him because he was a record signing.
Well, not even that. I think people gaining an opinion on Heskey because there's been years and years of like Heskey slander
Heskey plays for England, so and all
you know,
he was brilliant. He just wasn't our number one striker, and that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. That for me is the difference between Torres and Heskey. If Torres was the main man and Heskey wasn't.
If I was doing this, I would be dropping Collymore down. I would be considering dropping Torres down a bit. I think Cisse, because he won the European Cup, and I think the fact that Heskey helped with the treble season, I think should elevate them above Collymore and Torres for me. But that's fine margins and all this.
I just pretended to be Stan Collymore every time we were playing footy in the park. He was that player for me at that time. I absolutely adored him.
Hypothetical for you before we wrap up. 5 years time, fast forward 5 years time. Where's Florian Wirtz?
If he's not in conversation for the top three, then he's going to be in conversation probably for the bottom three. You know what I mean? Because
he's not just going to be all right.
Because he's not just Liverpool's, record signing. He is a British transfer record signing, and that should add something to it anyway. Even though we kind of glossed over that with Collymore.
It'll only be a couple of weeks. He'll have been the record.
The British transfer record could be like 250 million by that time. Yeah. We'll see. Or the bubble will have burst on it all. Okay, thanks so much to everyone who's joined us and engaged caps lock and screamed at their phones. And
I'm so glad it wasn't live.
Subscribe to the channel if you want more from us and more great Liverpool content in general. Head to redmenplus.com and fill your boots over there because Liverpool are reigning, defending Premier League champions, and there's every chance that this list will be a lot longer a year from now.